that she's had some bills that I would find pretty controversial, and one of which we mentioned in previous discussions was the bill where you can, if you're riding a bicycle and you come up to a stop sign, you can just roll through it and you don't have to stop. And it was written up in the LA Times as one of the nuttiest bills of the year. I think it was last year, and it was vetoed by Gavin Newsom. And so I think when you're pursuing bills like this, and meanwhile we have a state of emergency in the city of Carlsbad because there have been so many bicycle deaths, and yet she apparently is still pursuing this bill. And I just think it says a lot when we've got 8 or 9% inflation. We've got the highest taxes in the country. We've got a homelessness crisis. We've got a border crisis, and she's talking about rolling through stop signs. I think that's just symbolic of the types of things that she's working on. On the one hand, it's kind of crazy because I think it fits into her larger view of the world, which is that we don't want people in their cars. We want people riding bicycles. We want to make it easier for them to ride bicycles. And at the same time, it's not very well thought through. And so I think that when people are up in Sacramento spending your tax dollars on things like this, and they're not even able to convince their own party that, because Governor Newsom clearly thought it wasn't safe, then I don't think she's representing the people of San Diego very well. And there was another bill that came up recently. It was another one that Governor Newsom thankfully vetoed, but she voted in support of this. And it was basically to create what they call shooting galleries, but essentially places, it would be a test program in certain cities where people could go and do intravenous drugs under the supervision of medical professionals. And the intention is to prevent overdoses. But at the same time, I think you have to recognize that when you're making it easier for people to do drugs, you're not solving the underlying issue. In a way, you're throwing in the towel and you're just saying, well, we can't solve the homelessness problem, so at least we should, allow them to go to a place where they can do drugs and maybe not die. And so I think that the state deserves a lot better than that. And thankfully, Governor Newsom rejected that. I don't think that that's, the solution to this problem. And so those are just two examples of bills that my opponent has voted in favor of. And I think if most people most people don't follow these issues as closely as you and I do, but I think if people were more aware of these things, they might say, yeah, you know what, this doesn't really jibe with my personal philosophy on how we should be running the state. But I think a lot of these things kind of sneak under the radar. And so I think that's been her approach to this race.